Yeah.
That is... Okay, the world can now hear us.
Is it working, Simon? So far, so good. Yes. It is on.
It is on.
Yes, we are. We have to behave ourselves now.
1829.
Okay. But this time.
I will. We'll wait for a few seconds.
No, this is Nikki.
Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. So it's 6:30, so we can start with the Monkswood Nature Reserve Committee meeting. And this is the first meeting of this committee since the new civic year. So the first item on the agenda is to elect a chair for this committee. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to make councillor Simon. I'm happy to second it.
Were there any other nominations? Yeah, Councillor Morehouse has proposed, Councillor Super second, and you can show of hands, please put up. Thank you very much. So I hand over to
the screen.
you. Can.
Yeah. He's cursing it off. Everything on the camera. Yes.
It's just about, so you can lean in if necessary. We've got this little microphone just here, so just you have one microphone. So.
Okay. So thank you, Councillor Mallet, and over to you. Just to be aware that Councillor Super would like to substitute Councillor Ripley. Just want to make sure that the councillors of the committee are happy with that.
Yes, we're all happy with Councillor Super.
Yeah.
Do we need a show of hands or we just go?
If you can, just
Show of hands.
thank you very much. Thank you.
I think we don't have any apologies for absence. We don't have any absence.
Yes. So Councillor Ripley sends her apologies. She has another meeting commitment, and the mayor sends his apologies, and Councillor Forecast he has to. Yes.
Right, number 3, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Do we have any declarations? Thank you very much. Go to number 4, minutes. To receive and approve the minutes of the monthly nature reserve committee held on the 5th of February 2024, and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in this agenda. So a decision we find on that.
I have a matter arising. My report, which is item 224.7, there was this issue of someone jumping over the fence consistently from the marina, walking with his dog on the reserve. We thought that it had stopped. This afternoon I sent a little video clip of this guy climbing the metal, the wire mesh fence, and entering the reserve from the marina. There's no access there. And he has been challenged on numerous occasions now about walking his dog in an area which is dog free.
Okay,
Yeah, well, at any time, but particularly just like you and the ground nesting birds and the grazing animals out in the fields.
I think we did have a conversation last time, didn't we? But is there any action that can be taken apart from obviously trying to educate?
Yeah, well, the suggestion was made that a letter or some contact be made to the marina. They must know who it is. They're just advising. I mean, apart from anything else, that place is protected by PC, PS, you know.
Yes.
So it's like making himself liable in theory for the client.
So we can raise it also with our local police officer as well. So I'm happy to do that. I'll just drop her an email.
Any other points on the minutes of the?
Propose that this is accepted.
Yeah, do you want to second that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Minutes are accepted. And number 5, co-option.
So, sorry, everyone voted.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You say.
Simon is always there.
Okay, thank you.
Co-option, members to receive a verbal report from the town clerk with a recommendation of the Monkswell warden Henry Chapman and chartered surveyor Mark Chandler, co-opted to the Monkswell National Reserve Committee. Members to suggest further co-options if development.
Yes, thank you. So as you're all aware, Ken would normally attend these meetings and co-opted as the warden of the Monkswell Nature Reserve. And previously, Mr. Mark Chandler, who's a chartered surveyor and who does the work for the Rural Payment Agency, was co-opted previously. So it's really to check with members on the committee if you're happy with those co-options and if there were any other individuals that you wanted to propose for co-option.
I'd like to see Andrew Kaczynski.
Yeah, I mean, the history is that when the reserve was first set out back in the early mid-90s, it was a joint enterprise between South Bay Bird Observatory and the council, and then senior members of the Bird Observatory were always, over the years, co-opted. Whether there's any personnel there who still wish to be, I don't know. I'd have to make some inquiries. But the reason that I believe that they were co-opted, but I believe the reason that they were co-opted is because they had the expertise in conservation management, as indeed you are.
I think Andrew is actually because of advisors.
Yes, yeah, he was an employee.
He also sandpaper, so ideal. So anything here, he used to go back to fires and keep them informed and help with reports.
I mean, if the committee wishes, I can make some inquiries of the Bird Observatory to
Yes,
see
I think that would be.
without overloading.
Yeah.
There may be one or two people. I mean, I'd always assumed that co-op teams and perhaps a non-voting members.
Yes.
That's why I've not been voting so far.
There's that expertise rather
As I say, I'm more than happy to put some feelers out. Mark Chandler, as well as handling all the intricacies of the Rural Payments Agency, stewardship money that the reserve gets every year, he was also responsible for drawing up the management plan, which we've all got copies of. Yes, he's got lots of contacts with the farm.
Just to clarify, Ken is co-opted, Mark Chandler is being approached, or is he willing to, do we know he's willing to be approached?
I've not approached him, I think it's probably come from the town.
I have talked to him before.
Yeah.
We'd like to come back to him.
Yeah, I have as well. So yes, I don't know if he is.
It may be in his case that he might only be needed to turn up on specific occasions.
Yeah.
Because he's full-time working out. And I wish to
again next meeting.
Yeah, Ken's going to seek a representative of the Senate.
Yeah, from the, they'll be on the certain trustees of the receive.
So can we raise this one again in the next meeting, just for option? Do we need to vote on the properties?
Yes, please.
Proposal for Ken. Proposal for Ken. Second. Do we vote on that? Yes. And proposal for Mark. Yeah. Yeah, and we vote on Mark.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you. So it's two properties. Thank you. Yeah.
And to review corruption of some of the bird observatory.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's fine. I can take that action.
You finish on the money? Yeah, we can go to number 6. I don't see any public, so.
No.
So, fine. Listen, yeah. Number 7, financial position of multiple nature reserve members to receive a report from the RFO that details the current financial position, including earmark reserve for the multiple nature reserve. And Town Council is going to stand for the RFO.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So the purpose of this report is just to summarise the financial position, including reserves for multiple nature reserve, and this is the balance as of the 30th of April 2024. So the balance brought forward was £57,811.40. There has been nil income and awarding fees of £416.66 expenditure. So the balance as of the 30th of April, £57,394.74. Members are asked to receive that report.
Do we vote on this?
Yes, please.
Can we have a proposal? And second, can we vote on this, please?
Thank you.
And number 8, report from the Multiple Nature Reserve Warden. Members to receive a report from the Multiple Nature Reserve Warden that spans the period from January 2024 to May 2024. Members are invited to receive the report and to consider the Warden's recommendations and actions and activities for 2024 to form recommendations to Council. Ken, over to you.
Yeah, the council's all got copies of this anyway, don't they? But if I can just whiz through it, perhaps highlight some things, some points. The main management activity over the winter period, which is what this report covers, is just to make sure that the water levels are maintained at a higher than average level. This is to benefit wintering wildfowl. The new scrape was put in last September, October, and that's had an immediate beneficial effect on the numbers of wildfowl. This in some cases doubling the numbers, which is very gratifying, and things can only improve beyond that, I think. The project was paid for by the Rural Payments Agency, capital grant. The claim was put in March of this year, and they queried several parts of the claim, which they are wanting to do apparently. And I'm not sure what the latest state of the play is, whether they actually got back and said that yes, we can have the money.
I haven't had that confirmed yet. No.
Mark Chandler is handling the negotiations because it's a part of stewardship funding. But we're talking about £30,000 that would be coming our way if they accept that we've done what we claim to have done. Other issues, there's very little vandalism, occasional bits of litter, occasional fly tipping. My experience has been that I just phone up the area or phone up the Dover District Council, and almost literally the next day, when the area people are there, clearing out lighting. It's usually from the entrance to the reserve at the start. People just dumping rubbish in the road entrance there.
Opposite the entrance.
Opposite the lake, yeah, opposite the entrance to the fishing lake. Yeah, that's their favourite dumping place. At the last meeting, back in February, and where the various improvement works were approved. As a result of that, I started making approaches to local companies, or local approaches were made. I approached 3 companies, or in fact, I gave the addresses to Town Clerk, and letters were sent to 3 local companies who we know have got experience in dealing hard to making scripts. As of 20th of May, when I wrote this report, only one had replied, and they were keen, and they came to a site meeting and said, yes, we can do it. But they've not actually submitted a formal quote as yet. And that's a company, FU Filter, from Pluckley. We also contacted two more local companies. One, the company that did last year's work from Birchington, and Rhino from St. Margaret's. And they not replied to what we do about that, I don't know. There is one other company that could be approached, and that's Ogden's at Irish, but they do this sort of work as well.
You get the main companies, there's also 2 companies, isn't there?
Yeah, it sounds vague on me when you've got a contract coming to do big stroke there a couple of years ago. Similarly, construction of a new bird hide. I visited one company actually inside the town that makes sheds. One company that operates from a garden centre in Canterbury, and one company which operates nationally, and we gave them a briefing as to what we were looking for. So far, the only company that's got back to me was the national one. They're based in Lincolnshire. They're called Gilliards, and councils might be interested. I've only got 3 copies of this book. I'll just pass it around, and I'll give you an idea of the sort of thing we're talking about, and also give you some idea of the price. Well, there are 2 prices. That picture there is of a 5 metre high and 5 metres long. There's also, they do a smaller one, 3.4 metres. And then they also quoted for an access ramp to get into the height and the back.
Would that be a timber ramp then, would it?
Yeah. Well, as I say, this is a national specialist company. There aren't that many companies that make bird hides. That is about the only one national that I'm aware of. And they work with people like the RSPB, National Trust, the County Wildlife Trusts. They are the first port of call. They did a very, very good job. The Samson on the commission.
People running down this.
I'm sure councillors are not. Yes, they built a purpose-built hide for us, for our new strait.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It was lottery fund, so it's about a couple of years ago. They also backed up photographs with a very, very detailed specification, literally down to what sort of locks and bolts are going to be used and so on. Anyway, I'll leave that. Whether councillors want to pursue other local companies to see whether
is that single skin or is it double skin? So it's
single skin, but it's thicker. What they call it? It's not large stack. It's the neck one up.
Yeah.
It's thicker grade.
Thicker grade.
Yeah.
That one down by nice, isn't it?
Yeah. They've been doing it for so many years. They got it down to a fine art, and obviously that will just come off the production line. They've probably got them stacked up. If the council has decided to go with that company. Oh, sorry, yes, the idea is that this would be overlooking the new scrape. And the new scrape is envisaged, the existing scrape is in the area just below the number 3 there, in front of the existing main height. The idea is to put a new scrape in the top part of the reserve here, close to the main car park. And the high would be along that track there, looking over the scrape.
Is that within our boundaries?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, have a nice disabled access, wouldn't it?
Yes, you could.
We can make that bit disabled.
Disabled access is more feasible,
Yeah.
it's closer to the car park.
Yeah.
The only slight, well, not slight, the only thing would have to be negotiated is that track that runs along there from the car park is in fact environmentally duty.
Yeah.
And if a causeway, you know, like a wooden track causeway for wheelchairs was to be built along there, the agency would want to know about it.
Yeah. It's nice, isn't it? They wanted to go up there on electric scooters all the way up there, didn't they? Yeah.
Because the other parts of the reserve are, you know, very difficult of access, impossible of access for people, you know, in the wheelchair users.
I think it'd be perfect.
But it's just about feasible, I think, in that.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, I do think in terms of good management, that there ought to be at least one more quote. It would be great if it was from a local firm, but I know it's like chasing people.
Well,
give you one.
how can I put this? The local firm, there's only one local firm, and there'll be no other lake sheds. I approached that firm 2 or 3 years ago when we were thinking about building a hide at Sandy Bay for a new scraping room there. The owner of the company submitted a quote, which was nowhere near in the same league as us.
I think I might go
Afterwards, I had contact with him, and he was extremely angry, and he made various statements, which really I won't leave it at that. And when I went to see him again, he was the first person I went to see about this current project, and he remembered several years ago. He remembered me, and I said, "I'm not here on behalf of the church, I'm here on behalf of the town council."
I do know that. I do know that. I might ask if you want to get a quote.
Yes, if you've got a contact. Yeah, 3 quotes is good management, and that's the way it should be done, but you have to be careful that you are getting the right for in terms of specification. And sometimes that does mean you can't get 3 quotes. I come across this at work all the time.
Now I remember when I was involved in doing the sound, and they were way more expensive than Gilliard's. And the managing director that I spoke to, he said, "Well, we only did the top range buildings, the literally carpeted birds." So there is a range, something like a garden shed with windows, to real top of the range, to I totally agree with you.
We're not.
I might probably last one, so we don't.
But who else? I mean, if you want to make a personal question.
Yeah, I will. I'll put it down now.
And in terms of getting quotes, I mean, there will be a point where we've run out of quotes or people to approach. And are we looking at a relatively time scale the next meeting, or do we decide sooner rather than sooner?
Well, for various reasons, I think the timescale is going to be pushed back. The main reason, we've not got to it yet, but the main reason is that this work that we are projecting to do, the Environment Agency got wind of it. And whereas last year we got the work done without the Environment Agency being involved, this time they are involved, and they have said, I had a word with a local officer of the Environment Agency, who part of his responsibility is the flood protection work. He said he didn't think, I outlined what we had in mind, but we didn't have a stroke, and he said he didn't see the problem. But he would mention it to colleagues of his in the back office at Westmoreland. 2 days later, I had an email from said office with 3 lengthy forms attached. One is actually not as long as it looks, because it simply says, who are you? So just Sandwich Town Council. The second one, they want a detailed breakdown of the scheme of work, management systems, safety precautions. What are you going to do? Have you checked that it's not going to impact on the drainage, And the reason being that it's on the floodplain, so it meets their criteria. There's a thing called a FRAP, Flood Relief Activity Plan. And then the third document is all health and safety. For the company workers, the contractors are going to do it. Any impact on members of the public. It's a very comprehensive thing. And then they also said on the same letter, you will also need to get a formal planning permission on top. And both I and I believe you have approached the planners in Dover and recently had it confirmed that a full planning application will be necessary. So what I'm saying is that by the time we've got all this Environment Agency form building and the planning permission hopefully approved, the idea of getting this work and a Hyde commission, the idea of getting this work done at the end of the current bird breeding season in September, October, with actually small. So I think we might be looking at postponing the actual activity for another year. You can't do any work out there in the winter, it's far too wet. You can't do it in spring and summer, of course, because breeding birds and whatever. So we might be looking, unless things went rapidly through, we might be looking at postponing this for another year, or 18 months from now.
It would seem a bit easier last time, isn't it? Because we had a Wigan Environment Agency, didn't we?
Yes.
And they said, could we take it's a designated floodplain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because rising tide levels. But look, if we just move material from one part of the reserve to another part of the reserve, we won't actually bring materials in that kept the volume there. And they seem quite happy with that, didn't they? You give me a phone, that's what we're doing, and that's all from that.
Well, that was even now, the senior, he's way out of packing order. People that sent me this thing from West Walton, I think, are much lower than the pecking order, but they've got the job of making sure that all the holes are covering their backs. I've had it from several environment agency people now, including the what happens inside the embankments, they're not interested in. Anything near or even worse on the embankment, they are very interested in. Because if you remember, they said at that meeting, they said, we noticed that you put lifebuoy stations, 300 yard intervals. If you were to approach us now about those, we wouldn't give you permission to do it.
Punches membrane.
Because they reckon the plastic membrane was very good. They are absolutely obsessive. But on the other hand, quite rightly, because their main job is protecting the citizens of Sandwich from the flood. So we've got to work with the environment agencies.
I can imagine also if you estimate that 100 cubic metres soil and it's replaced with and you're going to store it locally, it's going to be immediately replaced with 100 cubic meters of water. So you've actually lost that volume of water which can be taken away.
They don't seem to be worried about that. They use this word volumetric, measure of volume. And they don't seem to be bothered as long as vast amounts of soil aren't being brought on site to to obviously reduce the amount of water storage.
And they will effectively do that because
we're not doing that. All we're doing is just moving the soil around. But they need to know exactly exactly what we've got in mind. I mean, the scrape that was put in last year, I mean, it was done by eye. But I had I stood out there next to a 15-ton bulldozer and just told the guy, can you push it up there a bit more, level it up there. This time around, I think there's going to have to be a full laser survey.
So that's next meeting will be discussing that. So, over you, Ken, for the rest of the report. Is there anything else that you want to health and safety was the by the
Yeah, sorry. No health and safety issues. Visitor numbers are increasing, still light, but increasing. There are various contacts. We have a small team of volunteers, a very small team. And then there's some notes here about the increase in, particularly birds, as a result of the existing scraping cooking. And the appearance of beavers on the scene. Coming across the river from Gazing. No, they won't. They've taken one tree down, but what's interesting is that where they gnawed through it, fallen down, there's a willow tree where they instantly, almost immediately, a shoot has come up from the base. So that's what they do. They recycle stuff, and they will, even if they took all the trees down on the riverbank, on the Monk's Wall side, they'll all shoot up from the base anyway. So they're like new things. I don't have any issue with them. I'd like to see one out there. I'd like to see how the evidence, but I'm never down there at night.
A couple of questions, if you come to the end of that.
Yeah.
So on the visitors, I did mention when I substituted last time about maybe we could do something in terms of an actual effort rather than just natural contacts from you. And if you're happy to look at that, and I'm happy to work with you on it, maybe we could look at maybe advertising free opportunities, maybe July, August, and September, for groups to come and have a guided tour with you, but step it out with you. So I'll make contact with the meeting. And then if we're in agreement, and I don't know if we're in agreement, maybe we can make a small charge for each person who comes, because I see on our balance sheet income, 0. So it's part of obviously the grants that we get. So you might just do away just getting a list of income and to as a reward against your time that it should go into the funds to the reserve. But we can talk about that and agree with that sense of what to do that. Yeah, I think the key thing is about actually advertising it and getting, particularly local people who don't know about it. Yeah. And the second thing I was just going to ask, you mentioned around volunteering, and you made the comparison with Gazing Source and how they've got an effort, and what just jumped off the page to me, is there therefore an issue for Monkswell not having a volunteer effort, or is it just saying, well, they do, but it's not an issue for Monkswell?
To my knowledge, there never has been at Monkswell a volunteering group in the same. I mean, the one at Gazing has risen for the last 4 or 5 years. It's now flourishing. Lots of people going. I don't think there ever has been a volunteer group in the same way at Monkswell. And I think it's partly because it's a different outfit. I mean, it's not a charitable not managed as a charitable trust, it's run by the council. And also a lot of the work, the conservation management work that has to be done at Monks Wall, you can't do it with a team of volunteers. You know, you can't get with a team of volunteers shovels and say, right, dig this ditch out. And you have to get contractors who because you look at 60 acres of land out there. And where it's not the flooded, the wetland fields, and you've got woodland and copse and brush. So all the management conservation work has generally been done by contractors. Paid for by on the proceeds of the environmental, the countryside stewardship money that's coming on a regular basis. Having said that, I think there is some work that a volunteer group could do. Putting out nest boxes, mine, scrub clearance, helping out in other smaller ways.
You get the scouts there once?
The scouts came once or twice and did some tree planting, hedgerow planting, but that was through the good offices of Nicky Ward.
Yes.
So I suppose I'm just letting something maybe to consider over the next 12 months, whether there's an opportunity to develop a proposal around the small group of volunteers that Ken would take advantage of, like a standard health and safety study.
I mean, in a way, having said I'm more than happy to take escort groups around, I feel a bit reluctant to take on the responsibility for managing a volunteer group as everything else. Because my main priority, working obviously with colleagues here, is now to get this second scroll line.
In terms of visits, the schools?
Schools used to visit, and part of the reserve has got a dipping pond. It's near the main height, but that is no longer accessible, certainly not through the summer months because of the cattle around them. And to reconstitute it as a safe dipping pond where you could take children, you'd have to re-fence it. And it would also have to have new platforms, new safety features. It would be quite a big cost to renovate that.
But just for a walk round?
But just for a walk around, absolutely.
Is it, we're closed within the radius of about 6 months, don't we?
The central area of the field are closed 12 months a year. But they're certainly closed in the summer months because there's 50 pedigrees, that's exactly.
So they can still
But
walk
they
down there.
can walk around the perimeter along the embankment, the river bank and the back of the Monks Wall. Except that section right at the very far end, which is, you nearly knee-deep in water at the far end. That would have been part of the new management work. So put some of the topsoil now with those straight and pick it up again. The dip. But for the rest of, for most months of the year, yes, you can walk all the way around.
Done with the report from now. We're going to move on to Community Green Spaces Fund. Town plan to share a report which details the funding opportunity for the Knoxville Nature Reserve.
Thank you. Yes. So it has been brought to my attention that this funding opportunity is called Green Spaces, and it could be funding that could be available for the Knoxville Nature Reserve. There will be further details about it in the summer. This fund will provide up to £7 million of funding to support communities across the country to create, restore and enhance their green spaces. The fund will run until the end of March 2025, and eligible applicants will include parish councils serving rural areas, community groups, registered charities and charitable trusts. Only one application will be accepted for the green space. However, funding could cover multiple elements such as landscaping projects to create new plants, planting of green spaces, creation of water features, shelters, and seating for people to enjoy the green spaces. The fund does not cover land purchase. I did share as well the press release from DEFRA, and the volunteer tree warden has contacted Councillor Duca and said that this funding opportunity could maybe have been used to apply the support with the cost of the third lines the Monks Wall. So I just wanted the members to debate that proposal and ask if you want to agree on approach and commitment to pursuing this opportunity in the summer.
So I break through the detail on this, and accessibility is also one of the features within the ability to apply. So I think from what's been said earlier this evening, there's another avenue that the bird height and the wraparound solution probably would be a good argument in terms of an application. However, what's not available is any detail of what the application actually specifies, as Phil mentioned, that it won't be available until the summer. Obviously, with the election, that might also have an impact. But it does look like something certainly to keep in view and consider an application for.
This particular, not necessarily this one, there's only done the gun, but some areas.
So what the awards, the grants themselves are up to £75,000.
So that
Only one application from
so potentially that covers disabled access as well.
it could, you know, in theory, if the criteria was met in terms of an application in relation to this proposal with disability access as well, 75,000 would cover the overall cost for sure.
Perfect, isn't it?
It could be.
I mean, the more, few grandparents are psychic, but the more boxes you can tick on these applications, the more chance you have of sustainable lottery funding.
And if you can present an argument that currently disability access is severely restricted or maybe not possible, bringing a solution that does that, picking up on Jeff's example of people actually being on an electric scooter from the town, one of the things it talks about is being within 15 minutes of green space. Somebody going at pace on their electric scooter.
Cycle road, isn't it? That's the bypass, that big road.
There's quite a bit there, I think, that gives it a fighting chance.
The other 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, 20 mile an hour.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's really positive,
Yeah.
And in terms of 75,000, so we're looking at sort of 20,000 for the structure, an amount for the whatever paving. Would we need to go for planning or environment agency if the car park is extended? Because it is very small. And if we're trying to get more people.
So if this scheme gets launched in the summer, it has a run till March next year. So there's enough time to get the ducks.
I suppose the question would arise when the money has to be spent on by.
No specification.
So that's what we'll do again in the next meeting.
It's not fair to say that we could just put it that way, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Get a mark on the pavement,
Anything else on the industry green spaces fund?
So I suppose if you're looking for an endorsement, this committee
Yes.
says yes, it's
Yes, it's very interested in going forward. I appreciate some of it will fall on his shoulders here. Again, are you okay if we push forward with that?
And I would suggest that it might be a group of people, 2 or 3 people potentially, to spread the load. Because I think funding applications are definitely more successful than when you get thank you.
Now, do we need to sort of, consider who might be interested, or would that again be the next meeting?
You can wait for the next meeting if people want to mull it over and think about particular skills. And I think my council who said, when we see the criteria, that's when people might say, actually, you know, I'm prepared to write a piece that contributes to that.
I think also with an election period, you might have to wait and see if the scheme is going to be
Yes.
continued.
Yes, yeah.
And, okay, moving on to, number 10, proposed works biodiversity improvement update. Town clerk to invite the Monkston Nature Reserve Board to report on the progress to date of the recent advice from the development management team at DVC that a full planning application will be required for the engineering operation spray. Members are asked to agree a recommendation to council that the planning consultant is engaged to prepare the planning application necessary for the proposed works.
My apologies, I jumped the gun on this, cropped up earlier. I think the only thing that, just a bit of filling detail, the idea is to excavate a shallow, what's called a scrape, deeper in the middle, creating outwards to the outside. Spoil would be spread on the surrounding grassland, and if you spread it really thinly, the vegetation soon bursts through. That's what's happened when last year's work was happening already. And then the idea is to improve the habitat for wild birds, wild duck, water birds, and things like dragonflies and other creepy crawlies and so on. I mentioned earlier the Environment Agency are now got their DDI on what these forms to be filled in, and we are also now going to be required to do a full planning application. I know from past experience of the Sandy Clay scrape how long and complex the planning application is, because they want everything. Listed building status, and this work be seen from anywhere within a quarter of a mile. What about the archaeology? What about the consultant drainage people? It is a very big task. And I've floated the idea of the town clerk that perhaps councillors might consider giving this work to a specialist planning application consultant, because there are such reasons. And even better if we got someone who could also do the engineering thing for the Environment Agency, do it all in one go.
Do they have to do the planning application for that development?
Planning application is a separate thing.
Oh, is it?
In fact, the planning application, we can't, there's no point doing the Environment Agency work until we've got the planning application, because the Environment Agency, so you must have a planning commission before you consult us.
Okay.
Do we have something in mind?
I don't, I mean, I'm sure, there's
Yeah, I'm going to say there's 2 or 3 that are, proper consultants that would take on a piece of work like this. So I'm happy if members on this committee would like to progress with this proposal, I'm happy to get the quotes, and then that could be something fed through to the council. So obviously, it's expenditure that will be required from the municipal budget. But I think it's quite vital, as Ken said, it's a complex piece of work, and I think if you want it to be successful, you do need consultants that will be able to do that work to make sure it's.
I mean, obviously, I would hope and expect to be involved, if the decision is made by yourselves, go for an external consultant. I would hope and expect to be involved, but not to actually do the actual donkey work itself.
Yeah, I think for the architects to do all that.
Do you much proposing? Are you proposing that we?
I'm proposing that we invite town clerk to research the possibilities of engaging a planning consultant and get some sort of costing. I know we've worked together before on planning experts and well worth the money.
Okay, definitely. And you second that, Lance, So,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. number 11, review of the nature reserve management plan. The Munstable Nature Reserve Ordinance advises the current nature reserve management plan now needs updated as it was created in 2017 and is intended for a 5-year period. Members are invited to agree that a review is commenced and propose a way forward with the warden with recommendations to council for any expenditure that is required to update the nature reserve management plan. Just by this.
Yeah, as I think I mentioned earlier, the plan was actually officially drawn up by Mark Chandler, and then obviously presented to the then management committee, and it was approved in 2017-18. It was a 5-year plan, and you'll see from the copy that you got, that it is quite a complex document. However, reducing it to its essentials, the reserve is divided into 5 compartments, which you'll see on your air photograph. Each of those compartments has a slightly different, very different regime, depending on what we want to do in terms of maintaining the status quo or improving each different area. So, for example, if you look at your photograph of Area 1, which is on the western side of the Sandwich bypass, that is it's off limits to the public, it's very overgrown, it's an area of scrub, but under a new management plan it could be opened up with a loop path as an extra place for people to walk around. At the other end, at the Stonner end, compartment 5, there's another bit of woodland on that corner by the Stonner roundabout, and again, it's an area of dense scrub and trees with no access except for me. But again, it could be opened up with a certain footpath. And then obviously in area 3, which is the core area of the reserve, I mean, we've already put a scrape in, and then there were plans to put this other one in, so that would be an essential part of the management plan. So that's basically what is required, is an update. Really are the things that we can do there. I mean, area 4D is another fun little area. It's agriculturally, the farmer at Roger Dutton very ready to stick his animals in there. It's just a very rough grass, and I think it might be quite good for us to think in terms of planting that up to make it into a woodland copse, or a large wildflower meadow. So there is these sorts of ideas, which are available to the committee.
Yeah, many years ago, Area 1, there's the old railway embankment.
That's right. Yeah.
And there was talk years ago of squaring all of this, make a habitat for sand martins. Is that still feasible or not?
It would be quite a major work, as it's all got overgrown trees and bushes.
Yeah.
The old railway line forms that curve at the top, at the top of the patch that is above the number 1. Yeah. I mean, it used to be a field, but it's I think probably when the bypass went up, it's just been, it's usually, the terminology, it's rewilded.
Which is the drainage though, isn't it, the bypass?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a swampy little odd corner, but there is an old track along the bed of the river, and in theory you could put a track along the top of the old railway embankment. So you could make some sort of circular path. Area 2 is the area right next to the river, which is completely off limits, dangerous, swampy, nothing, we don't touch it. Area 3 I've talked about. Area 4, what we call the Monk's Way fields, because they call it the Monk's Way Road. Those are slightly drier fields, and they're very deeply drained. And again, the decision can be made to leave them like that. It's a slightly drier field with orchids and things coming through now. or to dam up the ditches on each side and make them flatter again.
Which
So there's plenty of that.
with all of the prejudice,
Scope of play.
do we need to go through environment
The, what's intriguing is that the Environment Agency again has said that what we do inside that area, they're not interested in. I just assumed that all the ditches inside, particularly the ditch that runs along the Monk's Ward embankment, was excavated by the Environment Agency. At the last meeting, we were told no, not interested. But the only thing they're interested in is maintaining the integrity of the riverbank and the Monk's Wall embankment. I mean, clearly, if we were going to go there and do something with the ditches next to either of those two places, we would, as a matter of courtesy, want to inform them when we go in there for them to find out you didn't bother to ask or consult.
That's the protect discovery part, of the building.
Yeah.
But because you're going to deal with it, obviously, part of land, or cattle places, something where you're going to
I think it was a management plan. This was done 2017. Obviously, in the time since then, it's been very difficult to make any sort of progress given everything that's happened.
Sure.
And so on. I would expect the management plan to have some sense of making priorities. You know, we've been talking about all the ideas, and I think we really need to focus on just a few things, and to have some means of seeing, you know, what are we matching up to those objectives, what we're making progress against them. So I think that would be an integral part of the redraft.
And it also means that we can potentially open the UK on this, that you have Nicola Morton, who has a focus on tree planting. So, for example, 4D, is that something where you would invite another agency, essentially, you know, the tree planting area?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could be done by, well, you know, putting words and action into making more than that. You might look at it and think, but too big to be likely. But otherwise, you know, if a decision was made to convert it into a wooded area, then, you know, I'm sure there are certain contractors.
Could be a good
So I have been approached by the Environment Agency because as part of what they did, was it early this year, late last year? They had to plant new trees. So they've already approached me asking if there is any area. So it could be that the Environment Agency could take that area into part of the management plan.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify that, one thing the Environment Agency had done this winter, along the entire length of the riverbank, there was a tall hedgerow, and they'd gone in there and they thinned it away from the ground level for about so high, and just left trunks every couple of metres. And yes, and you'll say again, the Environment Agency are obliged to replace like for like. So if they were able to come up with, you know, funding for planting that bit up, it'd be brilliant. The only other slight complication is that any planted area would have to be fenced off, because the cattle are sometimes taken through that area, but then rush down the farm and takes them back to the farm in October. And obviously you don't want to be having cattle trampling over your newly planted tree stands. But anyway, that's technical.
Right, but it depends on the immediate mind.
So basically, we're going to be expecting a revised management plan at some point.
Yeah.
Do you have an over time scale that you'd like to work to?
Well, I suppose the other question with all the time scale is who's going to do it? And if you want it to go back to Mark Chandler, bear in mind he's not party to the stuff, or do you want to get it to me to do it? Or to revise the existing one?
I think it is, but
I mean,
there's not an extra cost involved.
it's a comparatively easy thing to go through that document, make some alterations, and then, you know, some sense of prioritisation as well. And possibly even some idea of costs.
Yeah.
And also cost of your own time.
Yeah.
Because it's an extra.
Yes, I mean, that is, you know, an issue. Because as you know, I get paid by yourselves, something like that.
In terms of the living wage, is that something to review? Given that you would be able to give let's say, an idea of the budget to do this bit, for the next meeting or in between meetings that we could potentially share online.
Yeah.
That would be, I think.
In the road, so think about the next week.
So next meeting we will be expecting, I think just some sort of idea of costs. And are you happy that we're inviting you to do it?
I'm happy to do it, but are you happy for me to say this will be my fee for doing it?
I think so, yes.
I mean, clearly, I mean, I'm in your position because you know, I know Mark very well, and we work very closely together. I suspect that well, I don't know. I think you have to be consulted. You might say this is my work, and from a professional point of view, I think I should, as in him, that he should do it. If he says, I'm quite happy with Ken to do it, then fine, I've got nothing to do with my
So who would approach Mark?
I'm going to say I'm happy to do that.
So for the next meeting, we would want an idea of who would be doing the report and how much that would likely cost. Do we need those on that?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's fine. We need a second at first. Okay, vote.
Thank you.
Right, taking this on the next. Oh, can I just ask you a question? Of course. We had a problem with foxes before, didn't we? Because they had a swan and duck, and I think it was a vixen and cubs, wasn't it?
I've not personally seen a fox out there in quite a long time, but they are there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you can stop foxes. I mean, the only consolation is that they can't get in along the length of the river, but they can come in from all the other sides. I mean, the reason why the scrapes would hopefully would know that, you've got